Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a topic that is, quite literally, the lifeblood of any successful company, financial management. Using our source material, we're going to break down how businesses manage their money not just to stay afloat, but to really grow and succeed.
Let's start with something we can all relate to, managing our own money. You keep an eye on what's coming in, what's going out, and hopefully what you're saving, right? Well, now, just imagine doing that for a massive global company. That's what we're talking about here, just on a much, much bigger scale.
And this is the world of financial management. It's where some of the most critical decisions in a business get made, decisions that can seriously mean the difference between success and failure. Okay, let's really get into it.
So what are we really talking about here? If we strip away all the complicated jargon, what is financial management at its heart? Let's get a really clear definition.
Our source material tells us it's all about managing the flow of funds. I want you to think of it like the entire journey of a company's money, from raising cash, maybe by selling shares, to then using that cash to, say, build a new factory, and then making absolutely sure that factory generates real value.
So, in other words, its whole job is to make sure every single department in the business, from marketing to R&D, has the financial juice it needs to operate at its best and hit its goals.
And this is the crucial point. This isn't just about counting beans or balancing the books. It's pure strategy. It's about making every single dollar work for the business to help it achieve its biggest long-term goals.
Okay, so we know what it is, but what's the point of it all? What is the ultimate goal here? What's that bullseye that every financial manager is aiming for?
Now, you might think the goal is pretty simple. Just maximize profits, right? Make as much cash as you can as fast as you can. But our source material points to something much more thoughtful and, in the end, way more powerful.
And what's so interesting here is this key difference. On one side, you've got profit maximization. Think of that as a short-term sprint. But on the other, you've got wealth maximization. And that, my friends, is the long-term marathon.
And this right here shows us the real target. Look, profit is obviously super important, but the main overarching goal is to increase the long-term value or the wealth of the company for the people who actually own it, the shareholders.
So the big takeaway is this. Good financial management isn't about the quick win. It's about planting a tree today that's going to grow strong and provide shade for years and years. It's about building sustainable value, not just a flashy number on this quarter's report.
All right, so how do financial managers actually do this? How do they achieve this big goal of maximizing wealth? Well, it really boils down to a few core decisions they have to make day in and day out.
According to our source, it really comes down to three key jobs. First up, raising funds. This is all about figuring out the best way to get cash. Should we take out a loan? Should we find new investors? That specific mix of debt and equity is what they call the capital structure. Second, investing funds. Okay, we have the money. Now where do we put it to work to get the biggest bang for our buck? And third, managing profits. Once we've made money, what do we do with it? Do we pour it back into the business, or do we give it back to the owners as dividends?
Get money, use it wisely, and reward the owners. You see, it's not a one-and-done kind of thing. These three steps form this continuous loop that's constantly driving the financial health and the growth of the entire business.
So for our last section, let's zoom all the way out. Let's look at why this stuff is so important, not just for the finance nerds, but for the whole organization, and really, anyone who wants to understand how a business actually works.
As our source material points out, financial management is so important because it literally touches everything. A new marketing campaign, hiring a new employee, upgrading the computers, every single decision has a financial ripple effect that has to be managed. This quote from our text just hits the nail on the head. Finance isn't some isolated department stuck in a corner office. It's more like the circulatory system of the whole organization. It's pumping the resources to every other part so the whole body can function and thrive.
So there you have it. From understanding the flow of funds to aiming for that ultimate goal of long-term wealth, it's clear that financial management is the strategic heart of a business. And if you understand it, you're a long way towards understanding how successful companies really tick. And that brings us to the end, but we'll leave you with this to think about.